Good morning, everybody. The time is 9:04. It is Monday, October 26, 2020. I'm going to call the County Commissioners Court special called meeting to order. We are located at B County Courthouse Commissioners Courtroom number 110, 105 West Corpus Christi Street, Beeville, Texas, 78102. Pastor Tarver? Is there somebody who would be interested or willing to lead us in a short prayer this morning? Mr. Willow? Thank you, sir.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today to thank you for everything you've bestowed upon us. Please be with our commissioners and judge as they go through the different items to run this county to the best of its ability. Lord, we thank you for everything you've done for us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Willow. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the Texas Pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Well done. Excellent. Excellent.
We're in unison now.
We have several visitors in the audience today. Welcome. I see y'all with Beeville Food Drive. Y'all don't need to identify yourselves. I see some other folks back there with Mr. Beeville. Thank y'all. We've got some of our engineering representatives here as well. Is there anybody else that I've missed that would like to be identified? Is there anybody that wants to stand up and just identify themselves for us? Mr. Willow?
No, I'm good, thank you.
We don't know him. Okay. At this time, we'll move on to agenda item number 5, Commissioners Court opening remarks. Once again, I failed to remember who went first last time.
Had a email going to Nick with Texas Department of Transportation on some issues there on 359. Some issues that we need to correct and see have them look into. Also, have been on the phone with the local Tyne Water Board, trying to help them out with their water issue. Commissioner Fadias was nice enough to give me a local service. Other than that, it's just been usual business, trying to get some updates on some moving projects. Have an appointment or making an appointment next week to meet with the new superintendent there in Skidmore. I have a daughter that works there, and she said he's anxiously wanting to sit down with us, so would like to meet with him. And other than that, it's just been normal business as we go.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Fadias?
My week, I've had a VDA meeting. They're preparing out there for Texas Mile, and then there's a couple other companies that are pretty interested. I can't announce it this time, but it's looking pretty good out there at VDA. They're moving forward. I'm still continuing to work on the job description that Commissioner DeWitt handed over to me last time. And then I've had several calls that Ray's taking care of all of them in Road and Bridge. I had one this morning. He's already going to get on it. And had 2 calls to Bridge with ECM to check the updates of what's going on with the jail.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner DeWitt?
Yes, kudos to Road and Bridge. They've been working great. I know they've got a lot of mowing to do, and they're working on it as quickly as they can. Work is coming along very nicely in Mineral. I met the economic development person, Mr. Randy Sykes, this last week. I went by just to pop in. I wasn't able to talk to him directly, but I sat at the desk in the front talking to the receptionist. And to say that this guy is a go-getter and knows what he's doing, I was there probably 30 to 45 minutes. He had phone call after phone call after phone call, and he's an in-charge person. He was telling me, we're going to do this, you do this, you do that. Commissioner Haggard, I think you guys have hit a home run on this one. I really do. And I'm impressed. And I look forward to the meeting with him personally, but he was so darn busy, I didn't want to interrupt him. I just sat and listened, and I was impressed. Gwen and I, my wife and I, went down to Corpus we missed the official dedication of the new helicopter for Halo Flight, and we were invited down to their offices in Corpus to do a walkthrough and look at the helicopter. We did that. They have an impressive operation. The plans for the hangar are moving forward. It's all green lighted on their end. It's just a matter of when and one thing or another. I would like to pass along some kudos to the sheriff's office. We had a death in the family last week, an unattended death, and the sheriff's office deputies responded. And two particular officers, Officer Billman and Rodriguez, Officer Rodriguez. My cousin said they were so empathetic, that they were so professional, that I want to pass along to the sheriff's office my thank you for what your officers have done. And sometimes we never realize what's going on out when they go somewhere. These guys were fantastic. So if you'll pass that along to your folks, that the way they reacted, the way they handled everything, the way they talked, their empathy to the family was awesome. So thank you very much for what y'all do. Those are the little things that nobody ever sees, but they mean so much to the family. So thank you very much. And on that note, I'll pass to my colleagues to the right.
Just normal county business. I've had a lot of calls for road and bridge. Obviously, I call Ray. He takes care of them, and I appreciate that, Ray. Also, I want to send out kudos to the people that were in the election. I know they had a big undertaking, but I've heard nothing but positive as far as when people go vote, the space and all that. And the drive-through was a real good hit. So that's about it, Judge.
Thank you, Commissioners. I got to meet with a steer committee, an informal committee. You know, the former county judge, Stephanie Moreno, went to become the executive director of STEER, which is an oil and gas lobbying industry, or lobbying entity designed to facilitate outreach between oil and gas industry and the counties in which they operate. So a whole bunch of county judges from the Eagle Ford, as well as myself, and even Todd Staples was present, which was a neat treat. He's a great guy, and he's been a good friend of B County for a long time. We're there to talk about the upcoming legislative session and some of the issues, and as you know, this year, we've benefited from a grant that's helping us to improve and rebuild some of our county roads that have been impacted more dramatically by the oil and gas industry, and that was something that STEER and STEER's parent entity, Texoga, helped ramrod through the last legislative session. They are not that optimistic with respect to this legislative session. COVID has created a very difficult situation for our legislature as they get ready to prepare for the next 2 years as far as financing and funding. So it's going to be a really, really critical legislative session, and with STEER and Texoga looking out for the county's interests as far as infrastructure goes, and the continued participation of the oil and gas industry with local community governments, especially the rural counties that are so dramatically impacted by the oil and gas industry. We at least stand in a pretty good place to try to get some benefits out of this legislative session. So it was a good meeting. It's nice to see the other county judges. It's still very new for me. That's the third time I've been social with other county leaders outside of B County since January. But that's more a factor of COVID than anything else. I think either that or I'm really not well liked. And other than that, we've got some COVID updates that we'll bring up at the end of the agenda. But otherwise, it's business as usual. I share in the commendations that my fellow commissioners have provided to our departments. It's interesting, you know, even as recently as last week, you know, the county continues, and just like all counties, and you know, all local governments in the United States, continues to have stumbles and hiccups and issues on trying to reopen, remain open, and provide the services that our citizens have come to expect and enjoy in COVID. And so it is kind of interesting interesting is the wrong word. It is heartwarming and really encouraging to see the level of commitment that our county employees, that our department heads and elected officials will go through to ensure that we can keep as much of the services that we're used to and the convenience that we're used to, moving forward through this time. And we continue to face challenges, and many of those will go unidentified, just because they're handled. They're handled by our employees, they're handled by our department heads, they're handled by our elected officials. And so kudos to everybody for continuing to do a great job, in these. I can't really say they're no longer unprecedented. We've been doing it for 8 months, so, but it certainly is not getting that much easier. So great job to everybody. Thank you, guys.
Judge?
Yes, sir.
I would like to add one more. This last Saturday, due to receptions on the radio, I listened to a radio station, and I was super impressed with our emergency manager, who went on this live on Kicker 107, 6, 7, whatever it is, Kicker. That's how often I listen to it, I'm sorry. But
Great media partner.
Mr. Willow was on there, very informative, very professional, very strengthy in his diligence about wearing the guidelines, doing the guidelines, protecting everybody. I just want to put that out there. I mean, I just happened to hit it over there, and he was already talking, and I went, I know that guy. And it's nice to know that guy. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, excellent. Anything else? Okay, moving on, agenda item number 6, public comment. Are there any members of the public who wish to approach the dais and talk to us for a few minutes? Anybody sign up? All right. Agenda item number 7, the following items are of an administrative nature. Commissioner's Court has been furnished documentation on each item, and all such items may be acted upon by one vote without being discussed separately unless requested by a commissioner or county judge.
Move to approve.
Second,
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
anything stand out?
Well, you have your financials and investment, report. The financials are for September, and of course, September is still being worked on. But at the time of this report, we have 2.56% of revenue still to receive, which we have a bunch of receivables set up already in our ledger. So, I mean, we're on point as far as our revenues, so that's a good thing. Do y'all have any questions?
I do have a question that's not about the revenue. Are you through the revenue?
Yes, sir.
Let somebody, looking over our expenses, I know that our P3 electricity has been with Cavallo, and I think it's changing now to Reliance. Is that, because I noticed that the bill for the new jail is billed by Reliance.
Yes, because that was we couldn't get that onto the P3 contract for some reason, but I want to say it's going to be merged at a point.
I think you're correct, because I think what happened, Cavallo is the state of Texas. It is the comptroller's office, if you will, that's the land money. And I think that they could not bid this time or something, and I'm thinking that Reliance got the bid with our P3. I think that's correct.
Okay, well, because I know that you make yourself available to those meetings,
Yep.
and so that could be coming down.
I think that's why.
And I think they did that first, and then it'll kind of go on to our contract once that transitions.
I think that's correct. I noticed it because I was looking at the cost of the new jail electricity and everything.
Are we still paying on the old?
There was a bill on here for $500 or $600.
Yes, there's still some cleanup, and I just got a draft letter on my desk this morning from Veronica. She's been doing the walkthroughs through the old jail.
Okay.
There's still items there we need to remove, and so yes, everything is still on. The water might have been, I'm not sure. I can't say what's been turned off, but the electricity is still on.
Commissioner, if you will, it's my recommendation, we continue with the utilities there in case we have to move something back into that in an emergency situation.
And I know that was discussed.
Yeah, we should know in the next couple of months what we don't have to, but I'm afraid if we cut all that off, we're gonna have, mold, mildew, one thing or another for a stagnant building. I would recommend we continue, and we've talked to the sheriff about this, continue with that. It's a good insurance policy to have that building available, because there's some issues with the new one.
Well, we should keep track from the time that we moved over anyway, in case we have to include that in on whatever
Yes,
action we take.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Good idea.
You know, because
I looked at the bill, it showed the old jail, I'm thinking around $500.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Also, we need to, and I'm sure we are, I'm sure the sheriff has already went in there and turned off all the lights and
Well,
this, that, and the other.
we did that when we went in, because they were on.
Just bring it down to its bare minimum, just enough to keep the cold, and,
Yeah.
because we don't wanna look at that type of situation if we have to move back in. So,
Madam Honor, I lost the screen. Anyhow, I was looking at the revenues we've received so far to the end of September, and we're short 375 for the projected, or what we need to cover 100% of our expenses for last fiscal year. Are we gonna meet that? You see how you said we received 97 point something of
Yes,
revenue?
yes,
We're
sir.
lacking a little bit over
Um,
2,000?
Yes, sir. Yes, we are still lacking, but we receive until November.
Okay.
We are
So
still,
pretty good.
yes, and we
Okay.
have, our receivables already set up, like I mentioned, and so, I hope that we get, everything that we should. It looks like we will.
And for the public, when we adopt a budget, we project revenues and we project expenditures. So having said that, that's pretty darn good.
Yes, no,
Darn
for
good.
sure, yes.
That we can hit
Well,
the
they're
top.
collecting now, because there was
You know what I'm
about 30 people in line at the tax office when I passed by this morning.
Well, if y'all
There's
haven't,
a line all the way out to the,
if y'all hadn't gotten your, mail lately, you've got a pink love letter coming from the tax office.
that's why they were there.
Yeah, I did too.
Okay.
yes, and for the, for the environment we've been in for the last 8
Oh,
months,
definitely.
yes, and you can see the charges for services are a little down, the fines and forfeitures, but in the grand scheme of things, it's really not a huge number.
One thing I want to also mention is that looking over the, sheriff's office, income, if you will, I think the federal prisoners is substantial.
It's right on target,
It's
actually.
on target, and I'm thinking it was around
It's a 550,
60,000 or 70,000
550,000,
So they're on target.
yes,
And
sir.
I understand that, there's some negotiations going on that could possibly impact that.
Yes, because that contract is coming up,
Yes.
yes.
So great.
Anything-
Oh, sorry.
Let's not forget about our JPs. Our JPs are doing an excellent job of collecting.
Absolutely.
All of them. Commissioner Farias' waste station has been a huge asset.
for the
Well, it's been
safety of the county,
difficult,
sir.
I mean, it's been difficult
It's been
with
difficult.
You know,
COVID, yeah.
in all seriousness, looking at the overall county work, the staff, the work that everybody does, in all honesty, it's a well-oiled machine. It really is, and it's functioning very, very well.
I agree.
I'm impressed, but, and we talked about the elections, we're talking about the jail, we're talking about the sheriff's office, the auditor's office. It's a well-oiled machine. It's like a Swiss clock. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful. And being in government a few years like I have, to see it operate like this is so heartwarming, because there are some that don't, and this
Yes,
one does.
definitely.
And a lot of it is thanks to our commissioner's court and our judge.
I appreciate it. I take no credit for that. So, Commissioner, I'm the benefactor of y'all's good work and the work of the previous, county judge. If I could just real quick, you raised a really good point, that this is the only time I'm gonna do this. Quick PSA to anybody that's listening and everybody in the office, there's still a few days left in October. So if you usually like to take advantage of paying your taxes early and taking advantage of that discount, the earliest that you can do is always October. You only have the next several days in this week until the weekends in order to go ahead and take advantage of that. So, if you haven't received your tax bill in the mail, you can go online to the B County website. You can access the tax office from there, and you can get a copy of your tax bill online. It's really good that you brought that up. Yeah.
Good.
Please pay your taxes.
We want to keep this machine oiled.
Is there anything further on this agenda?
No, thank you, sir.
Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Deliberate and consider action on the following items. Agenda item number 8, project expenditure approval, PEA for Smith, Second, and Reed, Inc., September 2020, invoice number 13 for the Sheriff's Office in New Jail.
Move to approve is presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes without exception. Agenda item number 9, PEA for Brinkley Sergeant Wigington, October 2020 invoice number 47R for the Sheriff's Office New Jail.
Move to approve.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Sorry, gonna go ahead either, Commissioner, but yes. Motion passes without exception. Thank you, John. Agenda item number 10, Expo request to waive pavilion or parking lot rental fee from Beeville Mobile Pantry for monthly food distribution held every third Friday of the month. We have Mr. Hughes and Ms. Spires, present, if you'd like to make a presentation to the Commissioners Court. And while they're coming up, I do have a motion to approve and a second, so we're in the further discussion component of this, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. Libby Fire, Troy Hughes, we've been the administrative bunch for the Beeville Mobile Pantry for about 5 years. I think I've worked with them for close to 10. Did you say that?
Yeah, I think it's been about that long.
We're hoping that we wanted to move from bothering the downtown merchants and the back parking lot out to the Coliseum. I think it'll be much better logistically for everyone and give us some covered space and a little bit of shelter during the weather. So we have, the numbers have increased greatly this last 4 or 5 months. I don't see it going down anytime too soon, so it's, we have all volunteers, nobody gets paid. Everything comes from the food bank, E Corpus, and they deliver here and we distribute to the county residents. Appreciate that y'all took the vote. When we were walking up or not?
No, motion and second, for further discussion now. We all have questions and comments.
Continued support of the county. And this is open to all county residents in we've been reached out pretty far, some of them.
It's a great turnout you guys have, it's wonderful what y'all do.
We've been averaging 200 to 225 the last 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
And obviously that's looping behind many downtown businesses.
It's getting a little increasingly difficult to keep them in line. So this move would help greatly.
Are there any questions?
I have a few concerns. Now, there's another food bunch that's also working out there from Alice. We need to remember that there's already one, and I understand, y'all, y'all do a great job. Now, I know that downtown, sometimes it gets a lot of vehicles. This is gonna spill out on the highway and may go around the Highway 50. You don't think it will with 200 some odd vehicles?
Well, we're hoping that we can loop them around inside.
I understand, but it's just like the voting. Our sheriff's office had to get involved because of some of it spilled out on the highway. And it could happen. So just remember that the SO could become involved. That's a concern.
We've had to call PD a couple of times.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, because out there, it's not PD, it's SO. So we're gonna need to hear from the SO about what y'all want to do. A concern I have, you want this for 6 years, and we don't know a year from now what's gonna happen. Have you coordinated at all with Wally on dates and whether there's something else going on out there at the same time?
No, sir.
You have not?
This is, we're usually, they deliver, the food usually arrives around 9,
9:30.
and we're, the latest we've been done, finished is about noon.
But there are other functions that happen. You want this, is it the third Friday of every month?
We're trying to every month.
Okay, we need to coordinate that with Wally to see what may be scheduled for that day or the day after that it may impact.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine. Because
and,
we've been doing this uncovered for since it's,
oh, I understand, but this is new to the county,
I understand.
and it's gonna move everything from there out there, and I've been by that a couple of times, and there's a lot of vehicles. And if it's easier for folks out there, I think it's gonna have more. We'll
I'm
see.
not so sure about that.
We'll see. No, I'm not against this at all. I'm just coming up with some things that I was thinking about over the weekend, because our SO gets involved whenever there's a lot of people and there's traffic.
Right. the pavilion is going to be used, reserved that weekend, that Friday for some reason. I don't see why we couldn't use the additional parking area that's just the grass area
Well, that's,
for that one time.
that's
We can
great,
coordinate.
except whatever may be going on. It could be Western Week, or it could be something that 4-H is doing. They get priority over, you know, whoever's already been there gets priority over what y'all may do. That's the reason I'm asking. You need to coordinate this with Wally and see what's scheduled for the next year or so.
Okay. And livestock show, I think, may be a problem for y'all in January.
Yeah.
If they're
And
coming
livestock,
in
you
third.
move on the other side of the roping arena.
I mean,
That big parking lot.
we just need to be able to have where the cars can drive through long enough to press the load.
Because it could be.
So there's an ingress egress on 59.
Yeah, we can-
Yeah, get over
Yeah,
that.
I mean, we want to work with y'all any way we can, but these are things that need to be thought out
That's
before they happen.
absolutely. And we don't, absolutely expect to have to move there once in a while.
But I'm
But if we
concerned,
could stay out there and not be downtown, that would be fantastic.
I'm just concerned about, you've asked for a 6-year contract, and I'm,
We're just
No.
considering waiving the fees, I think.
Our past.
But even today, we're, yeah, I didn't even notice that. They're just looking to waive.
okay,
I agree with you. I think your concerns are
Okay.
well.
that's all. And I'm for it, don't get me wrong. It just, I like to plan ahead before these things happen, so we're kind of ready and we can respond.
Oh, I think the 6 years was just how long I've been involved. If I can answer that question. I expected to have to come back here every year, actually.
Y'all, the SO is okay, no problem?
I plan on calling Troy right after this meeting, whenever they're about to have it,
Okay,
give me a heads up, we'll take care of it.
good.
Thank you, Mr. Dillon.
And thank you guys for the service you provide to the community.
Yes.
It's really, really welcome.
It is.
Much appreciated.
And you'll like handing out food under a big metal roof. You'll like it in the summer, and you'll like it when it's wet.
Pretty nice after they put that new roof on there now. I mean,
We have to thank Commissioner Farias for jumping on that and getting it done. Or we would be sitting there with sunlight and rain coming in. And a big hole.
Less sunlight and rain than what we're getting now.
And just in brief, as a PSA for anybody that's watching, anybody that may have questions in the audience, the mobile pantry provides food, and it's a smorgasbord of different products, meat and vegetables and fruits, to anybody that shows up and waits in line, right? There's no barrier to obtaining.
At the time, right now, there's no restrictions. You show up and we have enough food, we'll serve you. We try to allocate it based on that day's count. As we're, we do check them in. We have to send reports to the Coastal Bend Food Bank. We usually do not run out until the very end. Now, once the special circumstances of COVID-19 are over, you do have to register once a year. But if anyone's welcome to come and wait, because we serve our registered participants first, and then the ones who are not registered, just get in line behind them.
And can you register by showing up, or do you have to go online?
We do it once a year. That's this is the guidelines from the Coastal Bend Food Bank.
And if somebody in the community wanted to find out more about how to get registered, where would they go?
They could contact Coastal Bend Food Bank.
Coastal Bend Food Bank.
They could call, Vineyard has a separate one. I mean, the Vineyard Health is also aided by the Coastal Bend Food Bank. That's the best place to call.
Okay, so call the Coastal Bend Food Bank if
Yeah,
you're
we do.
interested in getting registered to participate.
Yeah,
in the
we
free
register
food
once a year in January.
drive. Okay, awesome.
We usually have 2 nights, or 2 days, 2 days.
2 days, and then we'll usually register the first distribution in January. We try to take in as many as we can.
Excellent. Thank you, guys, and thank you for your service. Commissioner, do we
Libby,
have
one other
another
thing.
question?
Please coordinate with John, our maintenance
Yeah.
supervisor, to be sure the gate is open and everything,
So
because
no problem.
it's gonna be real inconvenient if that gate's not open on the
We happen to have been out there doing registration in January when John was there, and kind of went through a walkthrough with him, just throwing
Okay,
the idea around. So he's, we have kind of a rough idea of how we can do it.
Okay.
We'll work the details out with him as well, definitely.
Thank you. Anything further from any commissioners? No? Excellent work. Thank you guys so
Thank you.
much. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you,
Thank you,
gentlemen.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
And thank you, Ms. Spires, Mr. Hughes. Agenda item number 11, resolution authorizing application filing, designating authorized official and authorizing firms/individuals to assist in the preparation/submission of a bridge application number 13607, category 4, to the Texas Water Development Board to seek financial assistance for the cost of a flood early warning system phase 1. Mr. Cardenas, you're present here this morning. If you'd identify yourself for the court, and I'll turn the floor over to you at this time.
Judge and County Commissioners, Charlie Cardenas. I'm with ICE Engineers. I'm a senior engineer with ICE. This item is, again, a formality for continuing to apply for these Texas Water Development Board grants. This one in particular is the flood early warning system. I have some information. If I know last time I was here, you had some questions on what the units were like, how much they cost, and things like that. I'm here to field any of those kind of questions if you like. Real quick story, I guess. Some of my background is in TxDOT. I used to work for TxDOT for, there's two pages. I worked for the Texas Department of Transportation almost 10 years. And in 2006, I believe, I was driving back from Austin, and I take the back way, which is 181. And that it was a raining afternoon, and Papalote Creek had broken its banks. And I got on the radio. I had a TxDOT conference, and it said, well, you're going to have to go through Tynan, 359 in Tynan. And sure enough, I got caught in high water. One of those, you would think that there's no rushing water in this flat area, especially by Tynan. And I got caught in high water, had to be rescued that night. It was embarrassing, and spent the night, and I still call it the new B County TxDOT maintenance office. I still call it the new one, but the one by the bypass, and I spent the night there. And it was a bad experience. I think that evening, Aransas Creek also broke its banks. And so it's common to see that. This early warning system, by the way, can warn against that kind of stuff. Now, it's amazing how much technology has developed in the last 10 years. With this warning system, you'll be able to even access an app on your phone that'll give you an alarm, an early warning, to the emergency manager or risk manager to have this information as well. The county judge, county commissioners, anyone from the public can also get this information. Part of the early warning system can also include, and we're recommending, somewhat of a weather station. More than just a weather vane and stuff like that. It'll measure the barometric pressure, the atmospheric pressure, and in this area, I always see that tornado. It's like this is the tornado alley of South Texas. Bee County is like the tornado alley of South Texas for some reason or another. And for those of us that are in Rockport, Bee County gets it before they get it in Rockport. So this is a very important piece of equipment for risk management and emergency management as well. The ideal is these units will be on a bridge or under a bridge culvert, and it'll send a radar and it'll sense or shoot. And there's different kinds. You could do a probe or you could do a radar. It's all solar powered, and it'll sense how fast the creek or stream is running, or if there's even a creek or stream coming. And then it could preempt, depending on the rainfall intensity, preempt the alarm to your phone, to your app, things like that. So that's part of the technology. I don't want to go into too much detail. Part of the technology of what this early warning system does. Question last time was, well, how much are the units? They range. The units are like 40,000 to like 60,000 per unit. The shouldn't say tricky part, but the bulk of the unit is the master unit, the programming, the custom programming per site and things like that. That's gonna be the meat of it, is again, the programming of the units and the system as a whole. As far as this application is concerned, we discussed a little bit about in-kind services. And you had a big question on in-kind services, and I didn't bring the table with me, but I apologize. We have, Commissioner, thank you. There is a breakdown by hour on these in-kind services. And by the way, I don't want to jump onto item number 12. It's kind of like the same thing. There are some kickoff meetings that we usually do on these master planning or these early warning systems. With this COVID stuff, it doesn't have to be a public meeting. It could be a virtual public meeting where we go live, stream live, and that's actually pretty effective because folks, they're comfortable and they'll be able to type in their concerns and type in their areas that they want to focus on those virtual meetings. So we did have a breakdown of the hourly, and by the way, Ms. April Gandu did an outstanding job delivering or giving us that information on the pay rates and the pay scales, so that we could come up with that breakdown by hour of the in-kind services. We do understand that the road and bridge section is stretched thin, and every penny counts, of course, and their role in these issues, as far as this early warning system, is collecting data and collecting the sites of where they're going to be. We need to know a lot of information that's out in the field, what kind of bridge it is, what kind of culvert it is, things like that, so that we can start doing the design for the early warning system. That's really their role. Are they going to go out there and do construction and things like that? No, not really. That's what would be contracted out. So there is a role in that as well for those road and bridge guys. And I guess for this item, I stand by for any questions.
Commissioners? First,
I'll go ahead. Let me go over this chart to kind
Sure.
of explain it in kind. Good. I don't do this. I saw that, I can't see the darn thing. I know there was concern among the commissioners court about how we're going to come up with the money. The way this is detailed out is excellent, and what it amounts to, this is not going to happen 1 month, 2 months, 3. It's going to take a year or so to happen.
Absolutely.
So these salaries are over a period of time, and I'm going to just read these off. Our grant administrator, which is Gracie. I won't talk about the rate of the fringe, but the total number of hours is 1,120 hours. Now, a lot of this is going to fall on the auditor's office and Gracie to keep up with all this paperwork, one thing or another. That's a little over $29,000. Road and bridge clerk, 620 hours. And it's kind of like a lawyer. If you call a lawyer, it counts. So if we're talking to the ICE folks or the Water Development Board or something else, we need to keep up with those hours and give them back to Gracie because she's the record keeper on all of it. As a commissioner, if I call them and talk to them, that counts. We need to the judge, everything counts. Road and bridge manager, which is Mr. Gonzalez, they're looking at 620 hours. Administrative personnel, that's other folks, total, you're thinking of 680 hours. If Mr. Gonzalez takes 3 people out there with him to measure a bridge and get a configuration, all 4 of those people are counted. So it all adds up. County auditor, 80 hours. County judge, 4 hours. You don't have much work.
You can't get out of this.
We need to send him with the road and bridge. County commissioner, 24 hours. You can see where the bulk of the work is going to be. For 24 hours or 4 hours for us, it's pretty quick because we meet with the auditor to discuss this project. It counts. Road and bridge administrator, 420 hours. Road and bridge operators, 420 hours. All that totals up to $109,082, which is our match. And that's why it's so exciting to talk about an in-kind match. We don't have to come up with the dollars, but we have to come up with the hours.
Right.
And I don't think it's that hard to do, honestly, I really don't. Because like I say, this doesn't happen in a month, 2 months, 6 months, this happens over a year, year and a half or so, and it's gonna add up. Did I capture that pretty well?
You got it. I think we're gonna hire you over there at ICD.
Anyway, I'll yield to the Commissioner Court.
Commissioner Fiddy?
One of the main concerns here is that you have a specialized machine, okay, it costs X amount of dollars. Right. Who fixes those? Once you come and leave them here and I'll see you next year, or?
Absolutely. So part of these, there's always a warranty, or should I say a grace period, like 4 or 5 years. It's all in the contract. Once we get the design going, X maintenance cost, X training, there has to be training involved. And then especially when new people come on board.
Who are you gonna train them?
Oh, so we'll train the operators, whoever's gonna want to, operate
Mr. Willow is gonna be emergency management, so is, Road and Bridge, and Commissioner's Court Judge.
So there is formal training on these.
Just 4 hours.
And that would be all laid out in the design and the contract.
All right, they break? What?
So again, they are field hardened, and if they break again, there is a maintenance cost, and there's a O&M, operation and maintenance involved. Again, in the contract, usually these kind of units, it's not, like you said, here you go, we'll see you, pay us and we leave. No, there is responsibilities involved, and there is a O&M, operation and maintenance involved with these contracts as well.
And you said the in-kind is how long? I mean, Commissioner DeWitt
So
mentioned a year and a half.
It's about 18 months. It's about 18 months. It could go into 2 years.
18 months goes like quick. That's a lot of hours, aside what everybody else is doing, that they're gonna have to put in to meet the obligation.
Absolutely, and every phone call counts, every training session counts, every public meeting, or every meeting even with the, Texas Water Development Board, or even with the engineers, or even the contractor, all those hours count up, towards the in-kind service.
Hypothetical, at the end of 18 months, and we didn't meet these hours, what happens then?
So, that's a good question, and I really don't have that answer. What happens if you don't meet the in-kind services? I think there's probably going to be some issues where that has to be paid somewhere, somehow. The other thing with these figures is, that's the max. And so let's say we complete the project and you didn't use all those hours. That's a bonus thing. If you didn't use all those hours, then you don't have to pay for all those hours as well. Same thing with the project. The project, we're getting approved. It's like you're getting approved at the bank to buy a car, and then you go to Lake Fulton-Walder and you go get something cheaper. You're not going to take all the money that you're approved by the bank. You'll just get what you need. So same thing with this thing is you'll end up using what you need. So vice versa. If you don't use all the hours, are you going to say, hey, you owe us money? No, it doesn't work that way. But to answer your question, as far as if you go over, or if we didn't, go on that, you pay that back. No, I don't have.
No, it's just a little unclear to me, okay. You're saying we can pay all the in-kind with hours.
Right.
There's no dollars. No
Right.
dollars will come out of the budget or anything to
That's
do the
correct.
project.
That's correct. You're not going to amend your budget. You're not going to add hours. Your employees are going to get paid whether they're out in the field or doing this project. There's no additional monies that you're going to have to budget for this project.
I've got a comment.
Sure.
If you will, let me break in. It'd be like if our road and bridge administrator said, we're gonna have a training session on the items. And he pulls together 25 people for 2 hours, that's 50 hours.
Absolutely.
Worth of credit that we get. And he could have multiple training sessions. Same thing with the auditor's office, if she says, okay, we need to get together on this and talk about it, bring 10 people in and talk. Because I don't think we're held to these exact hours by position. It's a total in the aggregate when we get through. So if Commissioner's Court spends more than the 24 hours, or if the judge spends more than the 4 hours, that counts. that all counts.
I think what the commissioner's concern is if we do not meet those,
No,
those hours.
my concern is
The-
several
the
concern,
court
okay,
would-
if we don't meet the hours,
Yeah.
who's gonna pay for this? And then, are they bulletproof, are they 223 proof? I mean, if you put these things out in a rural area, rural county, who pays for them when they get broke or fixed? I mean, we need to fix them. Who's
That's
gonna pay for
that's
that?
my biggest question right now, is, and the other is, what happens if this goes over? That's the other one. What if, after all the installation and everything, we go over the 320,000?
And so that's a very good question, and, from my experiences on well, first and foremost, sir, we will do our best and not to go over, not even to come close to going over. However, any change orders, and overruns, usually the applying entity, has to cover those costs. And I've rarely have I had experience in that, but I do recall that that's the issues, or that's the policy with these grants, and that's any grant, I mean, any transportation grant, or any stuff, is that any change orders or overages, the applying entity, is responsible for those.
Well, and the other one is, even if it's 40 or 60, the price is,
Right.
price is the price.
Right.
You know, I've gone with Mr. Gonzalez and looked at one of our bridges here in South Beach County where they've been shot at, and big old chunks of concrete knocked out of them. 243 proof, they're not. You know, and we've had to fix those. Those comes out of his budget. It's another 40 to 60 that comes out of our budget when somebody decides to shoot the center of it, you know, as a marking target, because it's probably going to have a little blinking light on it. You know, I don't know. I don't think we have the funds available. I think it's a great idea, and I think it's necessary. I do realize water comes across Tynan. I've been stuck in Tynan. Also, there's one spot where it comes across the farm.
Same spot
Same one,
that
one-
two-story house looking
Yep.
place, right there.
Actually, mine was right out where it runs off the Mingo Ranch, or the Mingo Farms. So, I do know it floods. I live in Papalote. I know when it came out of its banks over there. I know all about all that. But I just, you know, to me, I'm looking at the cost of replacing one and I may be wrong. We may go 5 years before something happens to them, but, those are my two concerns. One is it goes over the budget, and are we gonna be able to make up the in-kind, or are we gonna have to just write a check? I'm really concerned about writing checks over things something that can be easily destroyed.
The idea is great. I just don't believe that with all the things that we got going on in this county right now, this is the right time. That's my personal take.
You know, commissioners, in all seriousness, this has happened before. If somebody goes and vandalizes, we take it out. We don't put it back at that location. And then we don't have to replace it. I mean,
Is that
that's
confirmed?
it.
Is that confirmed? Because I don't have a problem with that.
this is a health and safety issue. Let's get the sheriff's office take on how they feel about this project. Sheriff, how do you feel?
Well, as far as the early warning, I mean, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. We really do need that. The concerns for vandalism and stuff, that's always gonna be there. I don't know what can be done to protect that. For the shooting, the first thing that comes to my mind is, I don't really know what this looks like, but isn't there some way to protect it
Yes,
from
yes.
that?
Most of the components are in a hardened shell. Some of it is exposed, but most of the components are, like I said, in a hardened shell. The components that are really not are like the solar power panels, the battery packs. They're still in a hardened shell, but
Aren't these pretty much like the edge-lit stop signs we see all over the county now?
yes,
Where you have a solar panel,
yes,
you have the battery, you have the hardened shell.
right.
Okay, I don't think we're getting a whole lot of people shooting those.
It can be happening, but I've never heard of it in the
No.
county.
You're right. I mean, somebody will shoot anything. I agree on that. And we'll make sure that they're hardened, field hardened for those conditions. You gotta understand, this has to withstand a hurricane, tornadoes, They gotta withstand, the floods, things like that. So, we'll see about making sure that they're field hardened for 357, 30-06 or whatever.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas. Mr. Willow, would you like to chime in at all as our emergency management coordinator?
Yes, as of right now, I know that, the National Weather Service has the capability of monitoring the Aransas Creek out, by Corbin Road. I count, 3 or 4 times a year, we get notified that, flood stage is gonna go up 26. I'm wondering if the systems commingle, or, if, who would get information from who? If the National Weather Service would feed you the information, or does it go through them? Another question would be, the notification system. With the, mass, notification system we have, with the iPod system, we can geographically, within like about 100 feet, target an area for communication. So when people drive into the area, it would hit their radio that there's danger coming up or the roads are flooded. So I'm just wondering if that feeds in as well. Because it's kind of like we have 2 different systems, it'd be kind of nice to get them together.
Do you know about compatibility?
So my experience was with USGS doing these units, in Cleveland County. With compatibility, it should work through the software. And it's a programming issue. We'll get with the National Weather Service and see what the compatibility issues are, if anything. It's the same technology, so there shouldn't be an issue with that. The issue that I'm thinking of is the radio, going into the radio, car radio, interrupting you, doing it on a warning system. I know there's capabilities and ways to do it on your phone, like your Amber Alert and the Silver Alerts and those kind of things. But as far as the radio coming on your car, something we'll have to look into.
Some other counties have had these systems in for years and years, like Bear County. Are they having vandalism problems that you know of?
Not on these units in particular. A lot of times these units are very well structured, very well hidden. The units that are getting shot at are like the stop signs, or in this case, the flashing beacons that'll say water on road. Those things are getting shot out, but
Not the unit itself.
Not the unit itself, that I know of.
What other counties around the area have these?
So I know Clever County has them, West County has them, and that's about it, I think. And the Clever County is only like about 4 units, so it's really nothing, not a big. And it was years ago, there was a grant from the USGS, the mapping services from the federal government. It was a grant as well, but no other county other than those 2. However, through this same grant, I know that Jim Wells County is applying, so is Driscoll, the city of Driscoll is also applying for the early warning system as well.
On the second page of your, I'm sorry, Mr. Gonzalez, please.
Yes, is this gonna be like we talked about last time, these are only on county roads, is that correct?
Yes, that's my opinion.
I noticed on the second page, you have, you've brought up some, software questions, and I'm wondering, do we know what scale of expense the software licensing for the units?
So that's gonna be another option of been doing some research of what we want to look for. You could do and that'll be once the kickoff happens and you start thinking of what we really want the system to be like. At this point, everything's very preliminary. There is proprietary, in other words, you own the software, you own the master unit, and then there's leasing, where it's, you pay a month, to a website to get the information, that kind of stuff. So those are the kind of options there is. Of course, the upfront cost of proprietary is more, but it's yours, and you're not paying a monthly bill to XYZ website.
At this stage, do we anticipate that the initial grant funding will cover those expenses?
Yes.
So that when the grant is closed, we have a fully functioning
Yes.
operable system?
Yes.
We're here today to discuss authorizing, it's still a little precatory, we're not voting today on whether to lock into the project or not. Is that
Absolutely.
true?
That's true.
So, and once again, I asked this question last time of we really appreciate y'all, the amount of effort that you put into working this project up and the project on the next agenda item as well. And in the interest of full disclosure, we're obviously struggling with whether or not this is the right time for P County to be taking on another project. And is I still willing to continue to proceed, knowing that there's a possibility that we'll come down ultimately and elect not to proceed with the grant?
Yes, we are. And again, it's the nature of this application.
I understand, but we do have a great relationship with you guys, and I don't want to run y'all through this process, because in the event that when we do take if there's a motion and there's a vote on this item and the next item, it may be a split vote, and that may be indicative of an ultimate determination to go away from it.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate that. Are there any other questions?
Just a comment. So to clarify, what we're voting on today is to continue moving forward. We haven't gotten to the no consent vote yet, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Any further discussion, comments?
I just have one other question, because I've dealt, not with the system, but I've dealt with when you go to the level sensor technology, I've dealt with this in the refinery business and everything else. And I just would like to know some of the, some of the downfalls to either one of these.
Okay.
I've seen the laser one, and I've called a lot of instrument techs out to work on this, and electricians for this. The probe one is another one. It's less likely to fail, but it's more likely to be. I just would like the comparison of the differences and give me some kind of maintenance structure on them. How much problems there are involved. That's my other concern that I have, because I've dealt with both of these systems in oil and gas, and I just would like to have a little more information.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anything else? Are there any motions?
Move to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, only because this is not the final say-so. Gives us more time to research and to ask questions, to call Clayton County Commissioner, other counties, see how they're dealing with these systems. They have abundance of issues with them. So that's one.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-2.
Question, the ones that you talked about in the other counties, have they proceeded? Are they moving forward with theirs?
For this particular grant, yes, they are. Again, they're at this stage as well.
Okay, but they're continuing to move forward.
Yes, sir.
Moving on, agenda item number 12, resolution authorizing application filing, designating authorized official and authorizing firms/individuals to assist in the preparation/submission of a bridge application number 13605, Category 1 to the Texas Water Development Board to seek financial assistance for the cost of a master drainage planning study. Once again, Mr. Cardenas, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners. This is a similar item where we're asking to move forward with this particular application. Same thing with the in-kind services. You should have a table that was broken down by the hour. This one's a little more technical, a little more intricate as far as public involvement is concerned. This is where we ask the public where their target areas are and where we're looking at. Again, this is where engineering will come in a little more heavy with doing what we call H&H or hydrologic studies. We do the modeling for the different types of storms. I don't want to go into detail, but you've heard a 100-year storm, 50-year storm, 20-year and 10-year storm, and the storm frequencies with the rainfall intensities as well. And this will give us a better idea of what's going on in the watersheds, what's going on, where the problem areas are. And then we'll develop, part of the master plan is to develop a capital improvement plan. Again, it's just a plan, a capital improvement plan that says, okay, we're gonna need a ditch over here, or we're gonna need a culvert system over here, or we're gonna need a drainage system over there, and that's what the capital improvement plan will do. One of the benefits of having a master drainage plan is it sets up for future grants and future opportunities. In particular, one of the first things these agencies ask is there a master plan in place? We've seen it with, I'm sure you've seen it in the safe routes to school when you're trying to put in a sidewalk somewhere. And the first thing the state will say is, do you have a safe routes to school plan? And the entity or the city doesn't have a safe routes to school plan. Well, there's points off there, and it just shows feasibility for these capital improvement plans. So that's what this master plan will do. It's set up and it will identify, again, pre-engineered capital improvement plan so that you'll have a plan in place to know where these capital needs are.
Move to approve.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
And second, only because we're still not in the final phase of to move forward. Is that correct, Judge?
I believe so, Mr. Cardenas, is that correct?
We
Thank
still
you.
have official-
Yes, sir. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'd like to just touch base real quick. You used to work for USGS. Is that the federal entity that came out with the flood zone master
Yes.
plan?
No, so I didn't work for USDS. I worked for TxDOT, and I worked for City Corpus for.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
But the USGS is the one that does the mapping. They're not part of FEMA, if that's what you're, they're doing the flood zone, or the national, what is it called, the insurance.
The purpose of my question is, are we duplicating, information and data that's already been collected, at some point in time in the past by the federal government?
So no, you're not duplicating. What you're doing is you're adding to that, information.
Okay.
There's a lot of places that they're not covered in the USGS area.
Any further discussion? Questions or anything? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-2. Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you, Mr. Cardenas.
Thank you, appreciate it, Judge.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. Commissioner.
Thank you, thank you.
Moving on, agenda item number 13, request to lease space on new radio tower located in B County Expo from Wave Speed Inc. to deliver high-speed internet to Beeville and B County residents within a broadcast reach of area. Commissioner Salazar, this is your item. You
I
have the
put this
floor, sir.
item in at the request. You wanna speak in behalf of your requester? I put it back to him.
Very good.
I thought you were gonna set it up, sir.
He did.
He did. He did. Gentlemen, thank you for letting me be here today. I am representing Wave Speed. We have a wireless service that we do business as, Gulf Coast Wi-Fi. We offer services in North B County and other areas in Texas as well. And we're looking to expand to the west, central, and start moving south of B County. We've had lots of requests in the last year or so around the area where the expo is, mostly the Blueberry Hill and Beeville Road, and heading out near George West, between here and there. And we've looked at different opportunities to do this, and we've reached out to see if we could come to an agreement with some of the property owners in that area to put a tower up out there to do this. And we haven't had anyone either reach back to us or interested in doing so. So we're asking to look at leasing space on the county tower out there at the expo at no higher than 200 foot.
we guarantee there wouldn't be any type of interference with broadcast, simply due to licensing, with the FCC and coordination. We're offering there's an either or. We see, something that would benefit the county as well. We've noticed that the, marquee sign out there has been dilapidated, and, we're either offering a monetary leasing, agreement, or in lieu of, we're looking at wanting to replace that with a new color full motion LED system, just for having the opportunity to be on that space.
If you would, a couple of things. I visited with the sheriff's office concerning this. Their only concern, that's the Jones One tower out there, if you would. Their concern was interference, and I think he's taking care of the interference. The second thing is, it's my understanding that the solar farm people north of Mineral are in the process of possibly putting up a 200-foot tower through your company. And my segue into this, if we do something to allow Wave Speed to put their equipment on our tower, is there something we can do to allow the county to put a repeater or something on your tower in Mineral? If that happens.
It's still premature in that negotiation. We're still waiting to hear back from that entity. They have given us a fairly good feeling that they're probably going to move in that direction. If so, we would leave negotiations open for that.
Because I know that there's some dead spots on the north end of the county, and that's on a high point. And if we can put a repeater somewhere on that tower that doesn't interfere with whatever they're going to do, I think it would benefit the county, and we can work together on that.
I don't see that as a problem. I really don't see any interference coming between us or any of the county facilities. I think y'all's repeater system runs at, 150 megahertz or something like that. It's at a very, very low end of the spectrum. The reason for that is because it reaches very broad at that low of frequency. We run in the gigahertz frequencies, so, I mean, we're way above what that would be, so there would be zero interference on either tower.
And what's your monthly proposal for, let's say, we decide to lease versus?
Well, because we're a fixed operation, we're not a mobility operation, which is similar to cellular. You know, cellular is mobility where they get tens of thousands of people go through a tower every day because they're moving and coming and going. We're fixed, so we are limited to how many people we can serve on a tower simply by how much equipment we can basically put up there without interfering, not only with ourselves, but other people. So with that, we've always limited our lease space to $1 a foot. We're asking up to 200 foot. We're offering $250 per month as far as a monetary lease agreement, or, we'll cover the cost of an adequate new sign for the Expo Center in lieu of.
Did you say $250 per month?
Yes. Now, let me go back to.
Not preferred. It's $1. We usually offer $1 per foot, but we're offering this lease. We're offering $250. So normally we wouldn't offer more than $200, simply because we're only going up to 200 foot, and we're only concerned about the vertical space between 180 and 200. That's the only space we're looking for.
Okay. If this other tower were to come to fruition, would Wave Speed be amenable to renegotiating that price to allow us to put our equipment on their tower?
Like I said, if that comes to fruition, I don't see anything in interference-wise as far as frequency and everything, and I'm always open to negotiation.
Okay.
We live here, we work here, pay our taxes here. We try to be as good custodians as anyone else.
Because I've talked to two of those contractors. They contacted my office about they needed this, they needed that, plug one thing or another. So it's going to happen. It's just a matter of whether your company gets the bid to put up the tower.
Yes, sir.
And we're looking at about a yearish, something like that, because they're supposed to start on the windmills in the spring.
I don't want to speak prematurely, but they're supposed to get back to us either this month or next month. Okay. They're looking at breaking ground possibly in January. So.
Okay, Craig, as far as when do you plan to get rolling if the court approves this? When will this come into effect?
As soon as we can come to an agreement and move forward. After that, it usually takes, you know, it could take anywhere from 15 to 30 days. The only other thing that we were asking for in this time frame was, to be able to offset the cost of either the lease or the purchase of the signage equipment, is if we could have 9 to 12 months, no payment before then, just to be able to grab the customer base in the area to help, pay for that area.
Is that common? Yes, yes.
It's pretty common when we're looking at like water towers and facilities like that, so.
And it does, I'm sorry, it does benefit the public, period.
Right.
And now, is there any benefit to the county as far as our radios, our cell phones, nothing that we know of?
We have nothing to do with anything like that. I mean, other than if we were to get that tower in North County, we would be able to expand your repeater area, just simply by the use of that facility.
You have a proposed form agreement that I've seen at least a few years ago, I presume, right?
We had a proposed agreement with the city, trying to get onto the water towers there as well. And the only reason for this is we get so many phone calls, asking for another option. You know, half the people in B County either like AT&T and hate Spectrum, or they hate Spectrum and like AT&T, or there's a handful of people that says nothing. And it's just gives them another option, and to be able to bring to them, especially during times like now with the pandemic, where we have major homeschooling and work at home and things like that. From what I've heard at the residents in Blueberry Hill, they actually have no coverage out there from either entity that's in town, so.
Right, I just want to make a motion to go ahead and approve the judge getting with you and coming up with some figures, a contract, the judge can bring it back to the court next meeting, and we can look at it and either go for it or not.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? That sounds great. That's what I was thinking as well. So, we can get together, great.
Sounds good.
And work on it. No further discussion. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. We're gonna keep going, okay? And thank you, Craig, for being here this morning. Agenda item number 14, County Boat Agent Agreement between B County and Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. We do not have Ms. Mattis here this morning. That is understandable. We have their standard, this is a housekeeping matter.
I was gonna ask, is it housekeeping?
Yes, we do this every year, so it's just part
Motion
of
to
the.
approve, then, Judge?
Second.
I have a motion in multiple seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes without exception. Commissioner DeWitt was absent during the vote. Agenda item number 15, request to use B County debit card for the Risk Management Department. Mr. Willow, you have the floor, sir.
Need help?
Yeah, I played golf and pulled a muscle.
That's a great way to get sympathy.
I know.
Start off by saying, I played golf.
I know. Got our company time though. Mike Willow, risk manager. Basically, this is, kind of like a housekeeping, item. Road and Bridge Department has a new requirement, for the clearinghouse for their members that have CDL license. And in order for the county to be in compliance with the federal law, we have to, get a text that number, join the clearinghouse, and by doing so, you know, they say, well, you could use a PO, but it's 6 to 8 weeks before you can get the number, or you can use a credit card and expedite it within a week or two. So, just like to use the credit card, and I'll be happy to do it in April's office, so she knows that I don't go online to buy me a new set of golf clubs, because the ones I have don't work. Not worried about the golf club, it's that screen you keep talking about, that's the worry.
Drop down screen.
I'm on it.
Hey, we're, yeah, that's so last year.
Move to approve.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Thank you,
All opposed, motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Willow. Agenda item number 16, expo request to waive arena fee from B County 4-H Council for the Cattle Prospect Show on December 19th, 2020. Mr. Gillick, you and your guests have been incredibly patient this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
You have the floor, sir.
Landon Gillick from the B
B County AgriLife Extension Office. I have Miss Addie Brown with me, our B County 4-H Council President, and Mrs. Emma Butler, one of our council officers as well. So that said, I'll turn the floor over to Addie.
Good morning, ladies.
Good, watching you.
Good morning, Judge Morrow and Commissioners. My name is Addie Brown, and I am President of the B County 4-H Council. I am here today along with my second Vice President, Emma Butler, our County AgriLife Extension Agent, Landon Gulick, and one of our 4-H adult volunteers, Miss Penny Rivas. We are here today to ask for your help. B County 4-H Council is having a fundraiser in the form of a steer and heifer prospect show on December 19th at the Expo Center Arena. The show will be called the Bee Jolly Showdown Steer and Heifer Prospect Show. There will be 4-Hers and FFA members coming from all over the state. We will be awarding over $6,000 worth of prizes throughout the show, all of which have been sponsored by generous businesses here in Beeville and surrounding towns. All of the proceeds from the show will go to B County 4-H Council. We have a lot of kids that are very active in 4-H at the county, district, state, and even national levels. Myself and Emma being two of those kids. The proceeds will allow us to open up more opportunities for our 4-Hers. We are here today to ask y'all if you would waive the $750 arena fee. We would truly appreciate your help in making this fundraiser the best that it can be. Our goal is to make this an annual event. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Excellent job, thank you
Move
so
to
much.
approve. Second.
I was wondering who was gonna get first. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I just want to comment, she made the reference to people all over the state coming here. Commissioner Salazar, heads and beds.
Yes, sir.
Is what I'm looking at. And so it's the way we need to go. So that's all I want to say.
One comment I'd like to get on the record. Our Coliseum manager, part of his salary is based upon renting the facility. A few years ago, this commissioner's court said that we have so many of these that we're doing at no charge. We're factoring that, somehow it's factored into his pay, because it's not fair to him, because his pay was based upon the fees coming in. And we did something a few years ago that he was gonna be paid even though these were free events. So we need to remember that when we're talking about his salary and looking at him. Ms. April, you remember when we did that? We need to be sure that's done, because our revenues are down this year anyway, but this is a fantastic event, and they do a great job.
Well, he is still paid.
He's okay? Okay. Okay.
Well, good luck, guys. You all do that.
Yeah, thank you for everything you do.
Ms. Doris upstairs told me to give this to y'all.
Oh, yeah. Lord.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
We got better.
Here we go. Hey,
I can't sign it yet.
Requires a signature, I know.
If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes without exception. We hope you have an excellent
Good luck.
event.
Thank you
Thank you,
very much.
ladies.
I
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Mr. Gillis.
And thank y'all for your
Thank you, Mrs.
patience.
Rios.
Oh, thank you.
If you stay, you can take this back up to Dolores if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll work. That way you know it's done.
Yeah, no maintenance, you'll still have to make your maintenance deposit, but you've already done it. I can give this to Candy, or I can give it to you, Ms. Rios.
Because it needs to go back upstairs.
We will take it to her right now.
And that way you know it's done, you can make yourself a copy.
Yes,
Y'all
sir.
do not have to stay for the rest of the meeting.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome to. It's very interesting. It's gonna get, interesting here in a little bit, so, but don't need to. Moving on to agenda item number 17. Declare Road and Bridges Mineral Building as non-functional, unsalvageable, and removed from net data inventory list.
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Agenda item number 18, acquisition of equipment and/or third-party contracting for rapid response COVID-19 testing utilizing CARES Act funds. This one, once again, is squarely in my court, and we're working on, I should say that, I have not yet been able to complete a second summarization to TDM to justify a reduced request for testing solutions, rapid testing solutions for B County. Hopefully I'll get that done today. We'll get it in, and just as soon as we can, if it is viable by TDM, testing and the faster we can get test results, it just provides more data, for our stakeholders in the community. So I still think it's very important, and hopefully Keaton will ultimately agree with us as well so that we can provide the solution. Yes, sir.
Judge, I would recommend we approve this today, in case it does, so we want it to come back. It's $38,957.36, which is outside of our budget. Those are CARES Act funds, to my knowledge, so it won't cost the county anything, but I'll make a motion to approve this. That way, if it comes through, you can move forward without worrying about the court.
In that case, I would suggest and ask that you would consider revising your motion. There are two contracts. In order for B County to be able to utilize the system, we have to have something called the CLIA license. And so we have a proposed, consulting services agreement that will end on, at December 31st, if that is the end date of CARES Act, from Dr. Phillips, who she is allowed to bring her CLIA licensure and to, in effect, open this facility so that our local COVID coalition members can operate it. But that would certainly potentially save us a week of time.
Yes, and include in that motion to, bring this licensed person, on board and do what needs to be done.
Yes, sir. Okay, so as a motion is amended, is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'm happy to answer any questions y'all may have about this. It's the same thing we've been discussing for 6 weeks.
And this amount can vary up or down from that amount, so around 39,000, it can go up a little, down a little.
Yes,
whatever.
I would like to, add that in there, just because we're trying to meet a threshold, and I know that, Grace right now is filling out the CRF that will be due here in a couple of weeks, and there could be a monetary amount that we need to meet. So I'm not sure because this goes down from what we had previously. So if it needs to be adjusted, I'd like to be able to adjust it if we need to.
The motion then would say adjustments as needed to fit whatever comes in. That this is not a hard, figure. This is just an estimate, approximate figure, and it can go up or down either way,
Appreciate it.
as needed. Second. If that works for you.
It will. Thank you, Commissioners, for the motion and the second. Is there any further discussion? Thank you, Ms. Gentoo. Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen, for that flexibility. Agenda item number 19, update, discussion, and possible action regarding B County COVID-19 status, preparedness, and contingency planning. At this time, I would like to hand the floor over to Dr. Hoggard. Dr. Hoggard is the president of Coastal Bend College. He's here. He would like to address the court and the community with respect to their COVID action plan and what's going on right now. Dr. Hoggard, thank you for being here this morning, sir. You may proceed.
Absolutely. Good morning, gentlemen. I appreciate the time to come before you this morning. And I do appreciate you passing the rapid test because we have been utilizing that. This has been obviously a difficult semester for the college and everyone else. These past 9 months have been taxing. I probably used that in the wrong context in this course, so I apologize. Been difficult, yes, been difficult. You know, we were on a roll as a state, numbers were declining, and now we're going the other way. We've seen in local communities where high school's been closed for a couple of weeks. And I did want to bring to your attention that we have, working with local officials from Chris Spahn, Jennifer Rucker, and Mike Tynan, we've really had a lot of success this semester. We have, I was just looking at the calendar, I guess about 4 weeks left where our athletes will be on campus in the dorms. We still have our career and technical education students on campus. But we tested all our athletes when they came on board back in August, 100% testing. We did all of the coaches. We did have, when the students showed up, we knew we had 12 cases. We left our apartments open so we could quarantine and take care of the students, let them get over whatever symptoms they had, and then proceed forward with the semester. Most of our the athletes have been in online classes. And at this point, we don't have our full soccer team here. All of the sports that the college engages in were pushed to the spring. I didn't want to bring soccer players from overseas to be here with the possibility of not having a season. That's just not fair to them. It's a costly endeavor to bring students overseas, and they bear the brunt of that. So we have had, I would say, actually, to categorize it, a great deal of success this semester until recently. We, every 2 weeks, we do a random test by team. And this past Wednesday or Thursday, I guess it was, we did our bi-weekly testing. And one of the teams, in this test, we had 9 positive results. 8 of them were from one team. We have made the decision to end all activities with athletics at this point, not indefinitely or anything like that, just right now, because we have the students in the dorm, which becomes a critical concern for us. So the all activities have ceased at this point. This afternoon, all of our athletes, the remaining teams and coaches will be tested again today. The team in question, they're going to be, once they are over the quarantine time and can be sent away from the college, we will do that. There, in my opinion, there is something going on when most of the teams are policing themselves, they are abiding by the protocols, and something happens where a team, that number happens in a team. So we made the decision, I guess you could say, I made the decision to send them away. First off, we have the dorm, 100 students. Secondly, we have our college community where the kids are in the dining hall, and they walk back and forth to their practice areas, and then some of them actually work at the college. So we have the immediate athletic concern in the dorm. Then our next community is the staff and personnel at the college that these students can encounter. And then obviously, very important to you all and the city would be their community engagement. I want to ensure the Commissioners Court that we are taking efforts, very serious, actually, efforts. I've made it clear from the beginning of the semester, if we cannot control this, we will end athletics until further notice. That's approximately when we're full speed ahead, 150 students on campus. But the safety and health of the community and our students take priority. And I just want you to know that the college is doing everything in its power that we can do, working with local officials to mitigate these cases. Like I said, it's astounding the results we've had up to last week. And we will continue to take positive and affirmative, fair action to make sure that this continues. And I do want to also mention, gentlemen, that after Thanksgiving, when we get to Thanksgiving break, the athletes will, the dorms will be empty. When the students come back in January, 100% testing again. We start from ground zero, we quarantine, and then we will have our competitions, which of course brings in another level of concern with students masking symptoms, which could be why some of this happened anyway. I think that one of the concerns that we have in general, and you all have probably read about, is that there's a certain stigma that is now being associated with being the person who brings COVID into the workplace or to the team. The isolation that when you have to quarantine and be by yourself, I mean, and the uncertainty of what the virus does creates a perfect storm to have so many issues. And what we are, I think our next step in keeping the community and our college athletes safe and is making them understand that this is not necessarily through anybody's fault unless they totally disregard the protocols that we put in place. It happens. We just want to make sure that we can take care of them, our college community, and B County and Beeville in general.
Thank you, Dr. Hoggard. Do you like to answer?
I'll absolutely, yes. If any of the any of the commissioners have any questions, except Commissioner Ferreras, I would entertain all of them.
Wow.
Okay,
No, honestly,
yes.
I'll even answer.
Are any of the kids that have testified, or are they very sick, or asymptomatic, or they?
I did not ask that question, I apologize, but what I did, because I want to have my numbers straight for you all today, when I did ask, it was confirmed that all of them will, all the activities cease. They're going to kind of be in a quarantine status until we get the results, hopefully tomorrow afternoon, which is why I so very much appreciate the rapid testing. Commissioner, actually, we have been very fortunate with the episodes that we have had. We have not had a lot of cases, first and foremostly. I think would it be fair to say, Chief, that this last week probably equaled, since the arrival, all the cases we've had over the past 8 or 9 weeks.
Very lucky, and those that we've had have been very mild.
Okay.
We've had no hospitalizations. And of course, these kids are in great shape, and I think that has something to do with it. No, we've been very fortunate.
And the reason why I deferred to Chief Bear is that he is in the mix in all of this as a contact point for employees, staff, and the college in general. And so I'm sorry I said staff, but I mean students. But we have been very fortunate in that respect that we have not had an episode where the students have just been terrible. Now, we've had a couple that have had those symptoms and been ill, but been very fortunate.
Anything else? Dr. Hoggard, thank you for being here today, and thank you to your team for your thoughtful and considered approach, not only to preventing COVID integration into CVC, but also your reaction time and the efforts that you're taking to minimize its further spread.
Well, thank you, Judge, but I would like to reciprocate the COVID coalition. I know we got on board very quickly, and we felt it was our responsibility to keep the community as safe as we could in any part that we could play in that. We were happy to do so. We have enjoyed great cooperation with Krista Spahn and their team, and of course with the court and the communication that you and I have. So I would like to reciprocate that. I appreciate you all, and I do very much so understand the concerns that we have having students, and whether they be our high school kids or college kids, just competing. And there's a lot of uncertainty. I mean, when you watch the athletic programming that is happening right now, you know, we see the NFL teams can't participate this week, or a couple college teams. It's really a scary endeavor, but, you know, having partners like the county and Krista Spahn to help us get through this is very beneficial, and I just want to say thank you, and we will continue to be vigilant and try to do the best job that we can to keep our students, our college community, and the community at large healthy. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And that leads us to, the final point that we'll end this agenda item on, unless Mr. Willow, do you have anything to say?
Just gonna be busy this afternoon, sir.
So, we are seeing an uptick in cases again, and it's early days, and hopefully it's an anomaly, but it might not be. We're seeing COVID cases increasing across the nation. The state, West Texas, is currently struggling with rapid increase, and unfortunately, it's kind of interesting. I saw on the news this morning, El Paso was having a drive-through testing facility where they tested 200 people. Guys, our COVID coalition has been testing routinely with the military, with our setup at the expo, 200 people, over 200 people a week, pretty much since April. And so again, I underscore the value to the efforts of Mr. Willow and the COVID coalition, and to anybody that's out there listening, and all of us in the room. Now is not the time to sit back and toss the mask in the trash and disregard the social distancing guidelines. We are leading into a potentially calamitous time, and we should just all protect ourselves. There's no reason to get overly dramatic about what could happen or couldn't happen. Just protect yourself. Continue to be safe and follow those social distancing guidelines. I'm so glad that you mentioned at the beginning that you heard Mr. Willow on the radio station. Please listen every Friday morning to Dale 107 or Kicker 106. Most Fridays, either Mr. Willow, Mr. Loya, or even myself, if nobody else can do it, will get on and try to provide the community with an update and to continue to remind you of the things that we all need to be doing. With respect to COVID status, are there any questions or comments or anything else that the court or any of our elected officials or department heads have to say? Okay, well, that's it. Oh, yes, sir.
One thing, and this came up before the meeting, Ms. Willow, there is a device, and Ms. Hope is gonna show you what she has on under that mask that we might want to look at for the county to purchase with some of those CARES Act funds. It stops the, if you will, the vapors from your mask going to your glasses, and these are available. If you would, I think that we want to encourage maybe looking at this. We're supplying masks. This could also be purchased with those funds, Mr. Willow. I didn't know anything about it till this morning. It's a silicone, what's it called?
Face mask bracket?
Silicone face mask bracket. So if we could take a look at that, we'd appreciate it, because some of us that wear glasses, when we get to going, we can't see a darn thing without running into a wall or something.
It keeps you from sucking your mask into your mouth too.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Any word on the trailer?
6 weeks?
6 weeks.
Perfect.
No, we cannot build a house.
Thank you.
My muzzle.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that is good. Thank you all. Is there anything further? Okay, we have no executive session today. We move on to agenda item number 20, adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes without exception. We stand in recess. Thank you all. Thanks, guys. This is an okay one, right?
Yeah, you did pretty good.
Hour 45. Don't get used to it.
Yeah, sure. At least put the power down.